A warm good afternoon to everyone present here. A warm good afternoon to everyone present here. In learning, you will teach, and in teaching, you will learn. Welcome back to the day 3 of National Level FDP. Welcome back to the national level FDP of the day 3, Emerging Trends in Technology, Future Perspective. Mass media provides the essential link between the individual and the demand of the technological society. So today we have amongst us an eminent speaker, Dr. Nikhila H., Professor and HOD of Film Studies, English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. Ma'am, a warm welcome to you. To give a warm welcome to the Dr. Nikhila H. with her brief profile, I would like to call upon Dr. Asma Fatima, HOD of English, to give a cordial welcome to the guest and the gathering.
Thank you, Ms. Muraisha. Education allows us to find the meaning. It gives us an understanding of the world around us and offers us an opportunity to use that knowledge wisely. Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum and namaste to everyone. Hearty and warm greetings for the Day 3 FDP program. Esteemed management, principal, HODs, lecturers, and the most delighted audience. I, Dr. Asma Fatima, deem it an honor to welcome everyone for the FDP program. The growth and development of the people is the highest calling of leadership. It is the ability to establish standards and manage a constructive environment. Dedicating oneself towards the betterment of the society with this aim, our management under Central Muslim Association of Karnataka is rendering human service to the cause of quality growth of the minds. I heartily welcome our management with the lead role played by esteemed General Secretary Dr. Zahiruddin Abbas sir. I welcome each one of you, sir. A good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination. I am honored to welcome the most dignified person of the college, Professor Zubeda Begum ma'am. Madam is the principal of our college, rendering services in various capacities. She has been associated in this institute since 40 years as a student, lecturer, associate professor, and presently heading the whole college as degree principal. I heartily welcome you, madam, for this Day 3 FDP program. A cordial welcome to our resource person and highly excited to dear Madam Dr. Nikhila. Madam is Professor and Head Department of Film Studies, EFLU, English and Foreign Languages, University, Hyderabad. She has been teaching for more than 25 years now, with the teaching stints at Mount Carmel College, Bengaluru, Pondicherry, Central University, Puducherry, and at present in EFLU, Hyderabad, for the past 12 years. Madam Nikhila has been invited as speaker in numerous seminars, conferences, and as resource person at various workshops and HRDC UGC organized programs. She got her doctorate for the dissertation on gender and partition and has published books, articles, journals, e-magazines, and book chapters on cinema and gender. Madam is on the editorial board and advisory board of international journals and has been a jury member for a prestigious short film award. She is co-convener for an online film discussion forum called Talking Films Online since 2020. She supervises doctoral research in film studio, and 8 students have been awarded their PhD degree under her supervision. Her recent publications are on filmic remarks and multimodal translations between different Indian languages. Her current research projects include commissioned essays on director Shyam Benegal on the politics of film curatorship and for a collaborative volume on New Cinemas of India, where she is researching on New Age Kannada films. On behalf of management, principal, staff, and on my own behalf, I heartily welcome you, madam. We have yet a dynamic person leading the IQAC team who is also a theatre artist and was in charge principal for the past 3 months. She is also heading the Department of Kannada, Dr. M.S. Vidya, madam. I heartily welcome you, madam. And I also welcome the team IQAC, the coordinators, Dr. Saida Tabassum, Ms. Noor Aisha, and Treasurer HOD of Management, Ms. Rumana Tabassum. Finally, I heartily welcome the most enthusiastic participants, the HODs of the college, lecturers, and students for the Day 3 FDP program on the topic Mass Media and Communication. I welcome you all. Now we shall hear Dr. Nikhila. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asma, for the introduction. I thank all the organizers of this FDP program for asking me to be a part of it. It's always a pleasure to meet colleagues, to have a discussion on contemporary issues with colleagues. I had to kind of reschedule my talk, I think a couple of times. I'm sorry for the inconvenience caused to the organizers on account of that. But finally, here I am, and I'm ready to share my views on the topic that I have been asked to speak on. I have a PowerPoint presentation, so I will...
I have given you an option to share, ma'am. You can share your presentation.
Yeah, I did see that. I will share screen in just a bit. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. We can see your screen.
Oh, just a moment. Is it visible?
No, ma'am. It just went again.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
A second, ma'am. Huh. Yes, ma'am. Now we can.
Okay. This is the topic that I have been asked to speak on, mass media and communication. The plan is somewhat like this. Initially, I will just give an overview of mass media, particularly in the Indian context. And then we'll talk a little bit about how it is important for us, those of us here assembled here who are engaged in education, in teaching, in learning, to bring various kinds of media products within the ambit of our classroom discussion. I'll talk a little bit about that. And in the last segment of my presentation, I want to show a few advertisements to you as an instance of mass media products. And as we go along, we'll talk a little bit about those advertisements and what they seem to tell us, why they are interesting, and why a discussion around various kinds of media products can be fairly interesting and productive in the classroom context. So this is my plan. So let me begin right away without wasting too much time. Dr. Asma told me that I can take about 50 to 55 minutes, and then we can have time for 5 or 10-minute discussion. But I want to tell the participants that you really don't have to wait all the way till the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, if you want me to clarify some point, go over something again, you're most welcome to ask me to stop and you know, either repeat myself, or if you have a question, you're welcome to ask the question as well. So we begin by talking about the centrality of technology mediated communication, which has become so ubiquitous in the last 2 to 3 centuries. We have seen a rise of an entire apparatus of technology mediated communication. This apparatus consists of media tools and they are widely disseminated products which have engendered new socio-political arrangements that we now recognize as modern society. So in a way, I'm tying the birth of modern society to the birth of new tools of communication and media. Technology mediated communication has engendered what can be called as massification. That is the process of delivering products to a large audience. So technology has enabled this kind of a reach, this ability to probably simultaneously reach large numbers of people with various kinds of messages and in various directions, so to speak. Technology-mediated communication has given rise to such political formations, socio-political formations as the nation. So what we call today as India or the Indian nation is also in some ways a product of such technology-mediated communication. In the European context, scholars like Benedict Anderson, who famously wrote his book called Imagined Communities, speaks about what he calls as print capitalism, how print media enabled the rise of different European nation states, whether it's you know, the nation states that you know today as Germany, France, Great Britain. He looks at how each of these nation states in some ways owe their birth to print technology, to the fact that they were all reading, or people were reading in vernaculars various printed material such as newspapers and other kinds of books. And through this act of communal reading, you know, reading together by the community, a sense of we feeling arose, which in turn gave rise to the formation of nation states. So this is Benedict Anderson's argument. I think pretty much we can also see how in the Indian context too, print technology and in more recent times, various other kinds of audiovisual technologies have given rise to various kinds of communities and various senses of we feeling which have come to us through these technologies. If we look at the beginnings of specific, you know, kinds of media technologies in the Indian context, the beginnings of print media can be traced to Bengal in the late 18th century, where the Bengal Gazette in 1780 was first started. As we know, it was mainly started by Englishmen to reach out to the you know, British community, to their to the rulers, to their own people. But it did not take long, you know, for others to begin their own newspapers. So there were other epicenters of colonial rule, as we know, such as Madras and Bombay. And there were weeklies such as the Madras Courier and the Bombay Herald that began in these various places. Today, we know the pivotal role that print media played in anti-colonial nationalist movement, whether it's Jawaharlal Nehru's, regular contribution to various newspapers, also his books, his articles, as well as Mahatma Gandhi's writings in Harijan. We know it played a pivotal role, print media played a pivotal role in anti-colonial nationalist movement. There were many native initiatives to start newspaper presses in English, and later also in various Indian languages, right from the 19th century onwards. If we look at cinema, the history of cinema in India begins with the Lumiere brothers. As you know, they have their cinematographic exhibitions at Bombay's Watson's Hotel in 1896. This is mainly, this exhibition is mainly for the British, but it doesn't take very long. In fact, within a week, Lumiere Brothers also opens up cinematographic exhibitions for Indians as well. So cinema as a technology too comes, at the turn of the century, 1896, around that time to the Indian context. Thereafter, visiting showmen from overseas brought a succession of moving picture shows to theaters, public halls. Tent cinemas were set up in Maidans in Bombay, Calcutta, Madras. There were also various kinds of touring talkies that went all over India exhibiting films. So you can see how cinema as technology slowly established its reach, its audience. And remember, this is still silent cinema, Mookie cinema. Talkie is still at least 3 decades away at this point. The first audiences in India, of course, consisted of Europeans and then the local elite. But if cinema as a public, form of media had to be viable, it could not just be restricted to a small set of viewership, a small audience. It soon expanded to include other strata of urban and semi-urban population. So cinemas soon spread the length and the breadth of British India and also in the princely states. Television is a somewhat of a new entrant. Although it formally came in the late 50s, those of us probably who are my age remember how it became something very big in the 1980s, particularly with the Asiad or the Asian Games of 1982, when the then political dispensation led by Mrs. Indira Gandhi thought that it was very important. The Asian Games was a very important event and it had to reach, virtually all parts of India. So suddenly we had a plethora of television sets invading the market, and soon they all became a ubiquitous part of our homes. More specifically in the 1990s was the coming of the satellite television. And then there was virtually an explosion of television channels, and television made its presence felt in the country's media state. Today, what we call as new media, that is internet and mobile technology, I think, all of us know how widespread it's become. We only, if there is some break in the internet in our homes, we know how desperate we feel, how we feel that we have missed out on something if there is a breakdown. and there is no network, or we are, there's some problem in our workplace which does not allow us to access our computer or mobile. So we know today that we are in some ways living in a media suffused environment. We cannot do without internet and mobile technology. The characteristic feature of this moment that we are inhabiting, the moment of new media, is that we are witnessing a trend of converging technologies and media, and the distinction that existed earlier between print, cinema, and television. Today, I think it's all kind of converged. I don't know how many of you still subscribe to newspapers at home. Many of us read our newspapers on our mobile phones or on our laptop. I don't know how many of you actually go to film theaters to watch films these days. I'm sure a number of you are watching films on your mobile, on your laptops. I think a number of you would also have subscribed to OTT platforms, and a number of OTT platforms these days particularly, and you will watch whatever films that you need to watch, or web series, or whatever kind of content, even television programs you'll probably today watch on your mobile phones or on your laptops. So in that sense, there's been a convergence. Print, cinema, television are all today available to us, right on our palms. So as we hold the mobile phones. Another big change that we are witnessing these days is earlier there was a difference between those who made video, those who made media products, the producers of media, and the consumers of media. So there was someone who was publishing news in newspapers, or there was someone who was making television programs in television studios, and we were consuming it, or there was someone who was making a film and we were watching that film. But today, increasingly, in this age of reels, in this age of TikTok videos, we are ourselves producers as well as consumers of media content. So the distinction between producers and consumers is in some ways becoming somewhat narrow, is eroding. Even films, with the rise of digital technology, it's very cheap today to make a film, a short film, or even a feature film, upload it onto YouTube, get an audience for it. So in some ways, as earlier you used to say anybody can dance, ABCD, now anybody can make a film. So it's like anyone with interest can generate content on media. So new media then has changed our lives, not only by making things very accessible to us. Of course, I'm talking about, for those who can afford, for those who have the ability to subscribe to the various kinds of media content. It's all available at home, at your doorstep. And also the distinction between media producers and consumers is also slowly coming down. Also earlier, we had this distinction between the verbal, the visual, and later the audio visual. Print technology enabled communication to and among the literate through verbal or linguistic mode. So this could have probably reached only that section of the population which was literate, which could read and write in a particular language. But when early cinema came, it was hugely popular because even the illiterate masses could understand and enjoy it, which also meant that it invited greater scrutiny and censorship from various authorities, both formally and informally. So from the government or even within our own homes, there was greater censorship, that came about with cinema. The combination of sound and visual technologies today has led to language-based diversification of visual media content. So in a sense, if you look at any of the Indian languages, Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, I mean, you can see a plethora of content available, media content available in these different Indian languages. So technology has enabled this language-based diversification of visual media content as well. Are you all with me? Any questions up to this point? Anything that you want to ask, or are you okay? Should I just go ahead? Somebody just let me know, just give me some feedback. Any questions so far? Anyone, will you just let me know?
If anyone have any questions, please raise your hand. We can unmute you.
Okay, in which case, let me continue then. If there are no questions at this point, I'll continue with my presentation. So in this presentation, my plan is, to introduce some products of visual media. By this, I mainly mean advertisements that, on the face of it look very simple and direct. But the whole idea is to generate a discussion on these products of visual media. In this presentation, I'm operating with a very broad definition of visual, which encompasses the verbal. So you will also see messages encoded in language on the printed advertisements. And you will also hear, whether it's dialogues or voiceovers, you will also hear various kinds of messages coming to you in the form of multimodal advertisements. Mainly, we will consider visual in this presentation, not just in terms of what appears on the screen or page or canvas, but as part of a system of visuality. So when I mean we will look at products of visual media, so I'm basically looking at how our eyes are trained to see, how our eyes are trained to recognize and respond to various kinds of mass media, particularly various kinds of visual media products, and how as consumers, how are we responding, how are we making sense of what we see and hear on the screen. I'm introducing here a particular kind of conceptual term called scopic regime. The French philosopher Michel Foucault used the panopticon. This panopticon, for those of us who don't know, is basically like what exists in a prison, where in the prison, the person who is entrusted with the job of watching over the prisoners is in a place where he can see everyone, but the prisoners are unable to see him. So in today's times, the products of mass media too, in some ways, are working like a panopticon, where it is in some ways tracing and tracking all our movements, what we do. For instance, you can, let's say you're planning a trip to Delhi, or you're planning a trip to Ooty. So if you're having a discussion at home about this, and you say, okay, so how do we go? Where do we stay? Do we go by bus? Do we take a train, or do we take a flight? You will see very soon, when you next open your Google on the phone, or if you're regular users of Facebook, if you open your Facebook, there will actually be advertisements related to your conversation on Facebook. It's almost like Google is snooping on you, so it's almost like you live in the midst of a panopticon, where there is someone watching over you, listening to what you do, and tracking all your activities. Of course, you could say this is, to enhance their own business. So you will actually see, advertisements suggesting, which website you should go to book your tickets, or which are the places that you can actually, the hotels that you can stay at. So in a way, as consumers, we are in some ways completely part of this network, which is a kind of watching over us like a panopticon, putting us under surveillance, accumulating knowledge about our various activities. So tomorrow, if you say, I'm planning to change my mobile phone, I want to buy a new phone, you'll actually see advertisements, kind of suggesting the various brands of phone that you may want to take. So your behavior is getting regulated by being part of such media networks, whether you are consciously part of it, or even if you're unconscious. So in the panopticon, that is the whole point. It is that you may not know that you're being watched, but you are constantly under surveillance by authorities. So even as we think of ourselves as innocuous consumers of media products, we are also getting in some ways sucked into this media network, which is controlling, shaping our behavior as consumers, as people who have certain kinds of social propensities. We want to do this with our friends. We want to go there with our relatives. So it's tracking all these activities of ours. Today, as I was saying, we live in a world where media technologies are increasingly functioning as tools of surveillance. We are surrounded by products of visual media. So on the one hand, I'm warning you of the kind of dangers that are there when we subject ourselves to this panopticon-like surveillance, surveillance technologies by the everyday products. So I'm not talking about any kind of very sophisticated surveillance mechanism. I'm only talking about a simple mobile phone, that all of us have around us, which is tracking, tracing all our movements. So in that sense, we are constantly being put under surveillance. We are also, it doesn't mean that we refrain from, because of we are under surveillance, we refrain from it. A very good example is if you people watch Netflix or watch any of the OTT platforms, after you watch a film, it kind of tries to make suggestions based on what film you have watched. What are the other films that you're likely to appreciate? What are the films that you or web series that might interest you? So maybe you want to watch this particular language film, or maybe you want to watch this particular genre. So if you watch an action film, it will suggest other films of the same kind. So in that sense, we are surrounded by products of visual media, and we can't really withdraw ourselves, from the vicinity of media. It's really all around us, and we are in the midst of it. It's because of its ubiquitousness. I think that many of you are teachers over here, and I'm addressing teachers here as well. I think many of you at some point or the other would have suggested to your students, don't bring the mobile phone to my class, or why are you looking at your mobile phone while I'm teaching, right? So in a sense, we feel uncomfortable, but I also have students in my class over here. The moment I'm, saying something, they are quickly looking into their mobile phones, cross-checking, or looking for additional information. Or if I have a PowerPoint like this, taking photographs. Why waste time making notes in longhand? So just take photographs of the PPT. So in a sense, the mobile phone and the laptop is something that is part of or an extension of our students' lives, right? So it's important, therefore, to bring these products within the ambit of academic discussions, not to tell students, keep away from them, don't bring it to my classroom, don't use mobile phone. Instead, what are the ways in which we can bring these products into the ambit of academic discussions? This could be discussions of YouTube videos to advertisements. Nothing really should be kept out of or out of bounds of the classroom. I think as teachers, it's important for us to realize how we live in a media saturated environment, and this is particularly so for the younger generation who are very adept at audiovisual media, much more than probably our generation would be. So instead of discouraging them, how do we bring in that knowledge, that competency within the classroom space, and make them thinking, more receptive, more aware, more conscious kind of individuals. So in some ways that should be our effort. So rather than advise students to refrain from or avoid these, it is important to make them aware and conscious of what they are communicating and why. So what are these new media products communicating, and why are they communicating what they are communicating? WJT Mitchell says of visual culture that our vision, what we see, is really a product of the society in which we live in. So what is it that our society allows us to see? What or where are the blind spots? What is it that it does not allow us to see? It may be very well before my eyes, but I may not even notice it. So in other words, vision is socially constructed. So visual media also chooses to play up certain things and also hide other aspects as if they didn't exist at all. So it shows certain aspects for a variety of reasons. Maybe it wants you to consume those products, or it wants to make you into a certain kind of a person. So in other words, our vision, what we choose to see, what we don't want to, or don't see, this is socially constructed. And also, on the other hand, is the opposite, the visual construction of the social. That is, for us, particularly for the younger generation, what does the social mean to them? It is the number of followers on Instagram. That is the social. So social is not something that exists out there. The social is how the visual is constructing it for us. Whom do I, who is my friend? Whom do I get to marry? Whom do I have get to romance? So from Tinder to marriage websites, everything today is so much a product of the visual, right? So the sense of the social as something that is distinct from the visual is also soon disappearing, I would think. So Mitchell is drawing our attention to both these aspects, how society constructs what we see and what we don't see, and also the opposite, how the sense of the visual, how the visual gives us a sense of what the social is for us. So in this, we ask ourselves, what is the social and cultural knowledge? So I'm going to show a set of print advertisements in the next slide, in the next few slides. So I want us, to be a little more participatory. I want you all to unmute yourselves and respond to the visuals that I will be showing soon. So what is the social and cultural knowledge that we bring in to read the following visuals? If we don't have that knowledge, these simple visuals will not make any sense to us. Can you see this, see what is there on your screen? Is this visible? Is this visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Yeah. So can you just, can anyone just respond to what is it? I mean, what sense do you make of what you're seeing on the screen? Anyone, please go ahead and respond to what you're seeing on the screen. I'll be happy with any kind of response. Don't worry, there is no right or wrong answers over here. So anyone who's ready to respond.
Anybody interested to respond, please raise your hands or you can put the comment in the chat box. A comment and add to the marriage website.
Yeah. So Khatija says simplymarry.com, an ad for a marriage website. Does it strike you in any way? Is it something that you want to remark upon? Rather than put your comments in your chat box, I would really like it if you unmute yourselves and respond. Is it striking in any way? Anyone?
You can just raise your hand, anyone. We can unmute you. Participants, we have a comment there, ma'am.
So somebody says about the banner and ignores precautions. I don't understand what you want to say, Pushpalata. Maybe you'd like to explain what you want to say. Are you all there, the participants, or have you just logged in and disappeared?
One sec, Pushpalata, we will unmute you. She needs to talk. You can just raise your hand, Pushpalata. Pushpalata, can you just raise your hand?
Okay, so Pushpalata says unable to unmute. So maybe the organizers are not allowing participants
Just
to
raise your
unmute.
hand, we will unmute you. Just raise your hand, we'll unmute you. Yeah, you can unmute yourself. Now you can do.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Yes, Pushpalata, please go ahead.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
you asked what does this picture indicates, right? What it
Hmm.
actually trying to show.
Hmm.
Yeah. So here, ma'am, the thing is about the people, the way they're traveling in their vehicles, especially the two-wheelers, and one vehicle, there are 3 people are sitting, that without helmet, which is not at all right. So that is one which we observed.
Yeah.
And the top,
Okay.
the banner, which one side is red and other side it is showing white.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that was also, there is something like one side it is a danger, it is showing that these people are traveling without helmet is a kind of a danger.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and on the banner it is something written as simply matrifix.com. So it is about something marriage. They are showing that they have this uh, company which they are working on this. So they are
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, I think I lost Pushpalata.
okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what like bride and bridals not they have showed with their company's app, which was written on that white side banner, which is shows about simplymatrix.com.
Simply marry.
Yeah, yeah, I'm unable to see that. So simplymarry.com. So these are the
Hmm.
2 things which I could able to see in this picture.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Any other responses? Yes, thanks, Pushpalata. Any other responses?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Anyone else? No? So generally, we think of advertisements, on a billboard. There is a designated place, on the road where we see advertisements. So as you can see here, the first idea that comes to your mind is why are these 2 cloths, what are these 2 pieces of clothing here doing, right? Why are they tied from 2 trees? And then unless you notice this simplymarry.com, in other words, I was just pointing out to you how it is important for us to have this kind of a this sense of, if we did not come from a place where we understood what simplymarry.com is. So immediately all of you pointed out that it is a website. So if I showed this, if you were to show it to someone at home whom the internet generation has skipped, maybe your grandmother or grandfather, and if you ask them what is this, it will completely take them by surprise. Nobody will think of this as an advertisement for a marriage bureau or a marriage website, right? And it's also done in such a way, Pushpalata was pointing out, it's bang in the middle of a road. There are so many things that you actually notice in this picture. In fact, the advertisement is the last thing probably, your eyes go to. But because of its unusual positioning, you notice it and you say, oh, wow, oh, this is an advertisement for a marriage website. And here are 2 bits of clothing that signify probably the bride and the groom. So they have used this to advertise, the website. Now let me go to the next advertisement. There's something else in the chat box. Okay, fine. Anyone who wants to comment on this? Sorry. Anyone who wants to comment on this? Please unmute yourselves and let the organizers know, or raise your hand and let the organizers know that you want to respond.
Anybody, please raise your hand. We can unmute you. Yes, Pushpalata ma'am.
Ma'am, here they have showed a printing machine made up of the craft work they have done and they have put up. But I couldn't understand one part. They have put up Indian map, but which is not in a right way. It is a very different manner. And they are showing it is about the Xerox.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it's very important, what you have noticed, and you're also asking a question, why is it like this, right? So
Yes,
you can see that this is an advertisement, like the previous one was an advertisement for a marriage website. This is an advertisement for a Xerox machine. Now, why does a Xerox machine actually show you the Indian map, and that too the Indian map, which seems to include a large part of what we may, think of as our neighboring country, Pakistan, right?
Yeah. Yes,
so the question is why, and the answer is right here in this, verbal message that is given to us at the bottom. They call it borderless printing. So they actually want to tell you that our printing is so perfect that you will actually not find unnecessary lines and borders. Generally, when we take printout, sometimes we get unnecessary lines and borders. So in order to represent it visually and innovatively, they have actually given us this very interesting visual, which gives us a sense of borderless printing, that there is no border between India and Pakistan. So it's a very evocative kind of advertisement, conveying the message that our printing is top quality. It is not, it will not give any kind of borders or unnecessary lines.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So we'll move to the next ad. I can see that I'm coming close to my 1 hour schedule. So I'll just stop with the print ads. I won't go into the video ads. I'll just stop our discussion with the print ads. Any response to this? Anyone who wants to respond to this? Is Pushpalata going to be the sole spokesperson of all the participants today? Or is anyone else going to respond as well?
Hi, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, here, two things are shown so nicely. One is like the girls' thing is getting down, okay, the ratio. So
Yes.
in future, it is something like the two boys are going to get married, one female.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So if you don't notice this, the girl to boy ratio in India is dropping fast. Help eradicate female infanticide.
Yeah.
So it's giving you a kind of warning.
Yes.
If we don't take care of this, we may come to a situation like this. Rajiv and Sunil would together have to wed Manju, because there aren't enough girls or women available for men to marry. So again, a very simple ad. And if you did not notice the verbal message, it will not make sense to you. You'll wonder, what is this? I mean, why would two men marry a woman? And what about this? Any response to this? What are these women doing?
Others, please, you can raise your hand. You can unmute.
Ma'am, here actually they
Yeah.
have showed that there is no rain, and because of that, the entire land has become full dried. And
Yeah.
for that reason, they are praying for water near the well, as far as I believe, so that they could have a good rain.
Sorry.
So that they will not have any problem for their cultivation. But another side here, they have showed a God's temple also.
What
Yeah.
are they going
The thing is,
around?
why are they round? They are rounding around the electrical current.
Oh, yes. So now you
Yeah.
are asking an important question. Why are they going around an electric pole? Where would you
Yes.
expect them to go around?
Are they asking about the electrical current for their village or something?
Where would you expect them? Generally, what would women circulate or go around?
We have responses in the chat box, ma'am.
Where would they go around? Around a tree, right?
Yeah.
So you would expect them to go around a tree, whereas here they are going around an electric pole. And
yes.
So as Pushpalata was pointing out, the land has become so arid. Therefore, do you see the small verbal message here? Plant more trees. So if you did not see this small, tiny little verbal message right up there on the top, you would wonder, what are these women doing? Yeah, they're worshipping, some god. They're going around some heightened place. The land looks pretty barren and arid. Are they praying for rains? Are they praying for prosperity? What are they praying for? And why to an electric pole? So as you can see, this is an advertisement which conveys with very few words, minimal verbal message, but the
Planting of trees.
the visual requires that verbal message in order to make sense of what it's conveying. So whether it's borderless printing or plant more trees, or the ad on female infanticide which says, if you don't take care, you might come up with a situation like this. All these advertisements, I have been drawing your attention to how, our eyes, all these advertisements, including that simplymarried.com, these are unusual. They are presenting to us something which is not usually visible, not normal. Why is an India map, showing Pakistan? Why are these women going around an electric pole? Why do you have a marriage advertisement bang in the middle of a road where the traffic is passing? So these are unusual. In the normal course, we may not even notice any of this. But if you carefully pay attention to the verbal message in each case, then it makes sense. What is the warning, that this advertisement is giving, or the one on female infanticide is giving, and so on. I'll just quickly go to my very last slide and wind up the discussion. The idea that our act of seeing is not innate but is constructed culturally is highlighted in the idea of scopic regimes. Advertisements are not inert object that we watch as agential subjects. Images have a life of their own. The gaze belongs solely to the object, which reinforces the limits of the subject in the scopic field. I was mentioning Foucault here. So our gaze is kind of captured by the advertisements. Visuals do more than implicate the reader or viewer. They directly interact with us. They animate the object so much so that the object is elevated to the level of subject. So I'll stop here. Had a whole set of audiovisual ads too to discuss, but it's time, so we'll keep it for another day. At this point, thank you all very much. I'll stop my screen share. Yeah, I think it's been stopped. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to respond.
So anybody have any questions, you can please raise your hand so that we can unmute you, or you can put in the chat box. Participants. Participants can raise your hand, or you can put your question in the chat box. Any of the participants? Okay, I think we have no more questions, Nikhila ma'am.
Okay.
So we can proceed to the last part of our session. So thank you very much, ma'am. It was a very interactive session and we had a great information about your topic. So thank you for interacting and giving us the idea about this. So I'd like to request Ms. Shazia Ifat, a lecturer in commerce, to propose vote of thanks for the session. Good afternoon, everyone. I consider it's a great privilege to have been asked to extend a vote of thanks on this wonderful event. First and foremost, behalf of our institute and on my own behalf, I would like to thank our esteemed resource person, Ms. Nikhila H. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry, Dr. Nikhila H. Thank you, ma'am, for your enlightening speech. The session was very informative. Now we have gained a true knowledge about mass media communication. Thank you, ma'am. With a deep sense of gratitude, I would like to thank our principal, Professor Zubeda Begum, for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best. Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to thank Dr. M.S. Vidya, IQAC coordinator, for coordinating this event. Thank you, ma'am. Sincere thank you to the staff secretary, Dr. Saida Tabassum. Next, I would like to thank all the HODs and my fellow colleagues for participating in today's event. Once again, I thank all of you for making today's event a success. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, Dr. Nikhila, and thank you all the participants. I request you to please join tomorrow at the same time, 2:30, for this fourth day of our FDP. So all the participants, thank you very much. Thank you for communicating, Pushpalata ma'am. It was great communication. Thank you, and making it successful. And thank you everyone for joining today, and request you to have a same participation tomorrow too.